coats and borrowed rooms, to the magazines that carry their truth. 25 years of the same steady hand, finding the ones who fell through the cracks of the plan. From Mitcham to Croydon, from London to the world, every flaggy planet said, you matter, you're hurt, but there's a man who finds you in the car.
Right, as the song stopped, yeah, right, come on, yeah, restream, you just do what you do. I broke my nose, right? Forget all that. Lachelle, superstar, how are you?
I am doing well. I'm excited to be here today.
I'm more excited than you, I promise. Really. I'm like a kid in the sweet shop, you know. See,
Oh,
the weird thing is that when I meet famous people, like say, I used to go to football very often, football matches, and you get to meet the players, and I'm just like, hi, and walk straight past them. Like, you know who that was? Of course I know who that was. And what? When I meet stars in the streets, I don't even look twice. I wouldn't, you wouldn't know I know who you are. Then again, at my age, I don't know most people are. They're younger than me, right? So I'm like, who? Oh, was that person? Thanks. I'm like, listen, I've seen them. That's how it goes, right? No, but Lachelle, you're the true star in my world.
mhm.
For all sorts of reasons. Literally, so like I'm trying to explain before we started. I think we live in a world where I believe fame is the greatest strength you can have. Being famous, being well known, being a household
Mhm.
name, like, when I try, actually, I can ask myself, what does it mean to be famous? What does it really mean? Like, what is being famous? So we'll address that in time, right? Yeah. So, but you tick all the boxes,
Mhm.
and yet you're still a show. That's one of the lessons I've learned in life.
Mhm.
A lot of people think famous means A-list or celeb thing. Literally everyone knows you, everyone's on you, and your life is maybe it's not yours anymore because you're a celebrity, but
Mhm.
you are now a star of, and I'm sure that's true for you. But I know that's true for you because you're who you are, right? But
Mhm.
end of the day, we end up going home, shutting the door, saying good night.
Mhm.
I just want busy, you know. And so now that's a part of fame I find intriguing. I think many of us think fame is something. I think reality is something else. Now, I'm writing the book, so it dawned on me, talk to real famous people. And here you are. Michelle, please come on my show. Please come on my show. Please come and paint a picture. Because like you say, why is Michelle the star? Michelle takes my process especially because you have a media channel visibility. You have a media, you're a media star. You're famous as far as famous goes, right? Now, and I will ask you a tricky question to start, which is, when did you know you were famous?
I think the first thing with fame for me is being a mother, right? I learned very early on that, you know, being whoever my child's mom is, that was my first experience of, oh my gosh, I know her. That's Jonathan's mom, or that's Taylor's mom, or whoever. So, learning to navigate through the eyes of other people, and them being the ones to make you famous, I think is really important to recognize. So, I'd look at fame as being an influencer, being able to have someone's ear. And so, really understanding why that is the case has really helped me to step more in the spotlight because I'm passionate about mental health. For years, it was something that I shied away from. I felt ashamed about my journey of going through depression and hospitalization. But over time, I learned that it was a superpower, meaning that I can bring the topic up at any point on any platform and really learn to educate people around the value and importance of our mental health. So I think understanding why people want to hear from you and being able to leverage that really can help you grow more famous because you understand that. And it definitely is not a lone ranger situation where I say, oh, me, all the time, but understanding that I'm a spokesperson for people who may still be in dark spaces, but they don't have a voice. So they can use mine until they get comfortable using their own.
What you said there, and I love all of that. Truly, you know, I guess being in the spotlight is how we normally take fame. You know, but many people these days become influencers. You know, I'm thinking of my friend Paulette. You know, sometimes goes on TikTok, you know, on that silly platform, and suddenly she has thousands of fans and followers and people that subscribe to her, they call themselves, right? And she had to go a house full of stuff. People sent stuff. And that in itself is fame. That's fame today, right? Now people know who you are. Now people are really like they want you to be their voice, like you said. Now, of course, we'll come to your mission. We were saying actually, I'm sure, you know, it's really been advocating for people, educating, advocating, speaking up for people with mental health, depression. That I can understand that. Because I think again, many of us just think if you're famous, everything you touch turns it on. If only, if only, I hear you say, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
And look, was there a moment when you suddenly dawned on you that you were no longer just Lachelle, like, and in the streets, working hard and putting it all in? Is it? Am I going to have a moment when I think, "Gee, I
You
don't like
know,
I have to
I think it is kind of surreal because there are moments where I had this one situation, right, with my daughter where she was connected with this young lady that's a friend of hers on Instagram. And they were on a conversation or something. And so she had just mentioned in passing something about something that I might have posted on Instagram. And so she told my daughter, she said, "Oh, I know who your mom is. I actually been following her before I started following you." So I think having those situations, it is kind of surreal, right? Um, People recognizing me in person for the things that I do. I think in the things that I say. For me, I think that is the most exciting because they know me for doing things with my brand. So I had this other situation where um, I was at the open house for my kids' school, and so with the open house, they get their schedules, you go around to each of their teachers and they get to meet the teacher, get their list of things that they need for the semester, that type of thing. And so we happened to go into the office area with the counselors. And so one of the ladies came up to me and she said, "You look so familiar." And I said, "Well, we do have a lot of kids that have been through this school." And she said, "No, I don't think that's it." She says, "Did you come in and give gift bags to the teachers? I mean, to the counselors, introducing yourself and everything?" And I said, "Yeah." And so she said, "I knew it was not with your kids, it was something else." So the things that people recognize me for, they recognize me for being the example of what I feel my brand is. It is giving people strategies for get navigating through life in general, and appreciating people for the things that they do. I know I'm not a tech person, or there's so many different areas that I'm not gifted at, but I love to still honor people for what it is that they are gifted at, because I never know when we may need to collaborate and work together. So, for me, for people to recognize the time, the effort, the energy that I put into making an impact in the world, for that I'm grateful.
Yes, I mean, so like I said, ultimately, that's where real fame lies for us as business people. Right? So like, I can't help but think. So many of us just have it wrong. With I don't. Many people I speak to, Lachelle, they say, "Am I famous?" You're like, "Yeah, you're famous." You're like, "Oh, I don't. I'm just a normal me."
Mhm.
I'm just a normal me. I'm just doing what I do. Like you're saying, like the mission is more important than anything else, and that's what we tend to focus on. It's not like how many followers do I have today, how many fans do I have, how many times I get stopped in the streets, you know, how many autographs I sign. It's knowing that you have a platform that people are taking notice of. That's real fun. Then
Mhm.
again, look, some people are fame, yeah, some people are celebrities, right? If I find one, I would love to talk to one. If you know one of my friends, don't be shy. Introduce us. See,
Yeah.
half my problem today is that as I make my list of who I want to speak with on this topic for this book, they're mostly women.
Mm.
Where are the men? Where are the men? Seriously, there must be men out there. I thought I'm sure you know him, Willie J. Right?
What's his name?
Willie J, the author, musician.
Oh,
He.
no, I don't.
I
Yeah.
know. Okay, I don't think like listen. Like, we live in the same world as Jason Hunt. You know him because we've been on one of your events together.
Uh-huh.
So I think he does a TV show on Zombie TV. I think.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a small world. But
Mhm.
Willie J, I expect he is famous because he's had big time songs. He's got big numbers and everything. I'm winning awards here and there, and I'm being published here and that's a real star. But he's cheating.
Mhm.
He's got music. See,
Mhm.
we don't have music. We don't act. We don't dance. Right? Act, I mean.
Mhm.
Right? So it's a different kind of fame. It's more fame for the mission, for the cause, than fame for
Mhm.
celebrity's sake. So I think
Mhm.
I want to emphasize that in my book. I think that's our reality. But there's a lot more that I want to talk about. Let's talk about
Yeah,
friends.
what that brings up for me is that, because someone is saying they think of famous being not able to go to the grocery store. But I think one of the reasons why I like my platform of TV or podcasting is to get people out there that are doing amazing things, that they don't get the exposure that everybody else gets. And usually it's because we don't think about the things we're doing as being famous. So like if you take a musician, they just like music. Now, yeah, they would like to be in front of more audience or whatever, but when you have a gift in doing something, you don't really think it's really famous worthy. So I think also having people have a platform to realize that whatever their gift is, it resonates and it really can help other people. That's one of the challenges that I run into with people who come on my show, or they want to be in TV, is they are trying to uh, kind of compare themselves to other people who may be out there doing certain things. And that gets to the point of stress, anxiety, because they're not walking in their own gifts. They're thinking, oh my gosh, now how many posts do I have to make? Or what do I have to do that somebody else in their industry might be doing, instead of realizing, okay, what I'm bringing to the table is this. And if you're able to just focus on that, you can be really famous. You think about an athlete or a musician, right? They just practice, practice, practice that one thing, right? But most people are trying to do 1,000 things and then wondering why they're not famous.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think fame for fame's sake, it feels hollow. So there's a point you're making, which I think we need to learn from as well. There's always a greater mission, a greater cause, a greater thing that we want the world to know and benefit from. I think we just focus on that, having the right people that we want to serve know that we exist and can help them. That's fame.
Mhm.
That's fame. That's what being famous really means. All the other stuff. I don't know. Sometimes we don't know. Look, being on TV helps. You're on TV. You're more than on TV. You're on TV loads. I'm sure if I go to almost any street in the US and say America's Supermom, they'll know. That's famous. That's famous, right? How you want to package it?
I love your confidence for me, Annie. Okay. I need to have you as the person who travels with me. Okay. My
I'm a
wingman.
fan. I'm a fan all day long. All day long. Right? All night.
I love it. Okay.
I'm not gonna hide it. If I get lost for words, please understand. Please be understanding. If I just say it and go, be understanding. I am in front of a superstar. In my eyes, truly, right? And
I love it.
I think that's an achievement in itself, my friends. If we get to a stage where people know who we are, what we do, embrace it. Truly embrace it. That opens doors, right?
Hmm.
Let me welcome some of our friends, and then we'll come back to the conversation. Miss
Okay.
Margaret, a true superstar. How are you doing, Miss Margaret? Glad you're here. All my friends are stars. Again, Mr. Curtis, I see you. Oh, research actually working better today. So Curtis, again, mental well-being, mental health. That's what Curtis talks about half the time. So glad you're here. Miss Halle, Captain Halle. She's got her networking groups and her events that she does. A true star. It's another one. So I'm glad you're here, Miss Halle. Lisa.
And she's amazing. Okay. I mean, she does a lot with the Fountain of Youth, is what I say for her. Uh,
I like that.
yeah. I'm telling you how she looks as young as she is. It's just amazing. But yeah.
It's all that flying around in her plane. If you don't know what I'm talking about, my friends, connect with Halle, then go to what
Hmm.
I when you see her background, you realize what people are talking about. She
Yeah.
does capture Halle for a reason. Miss Lisa, Metamorphosis work. How you doing, Lisa? You're going to get published everywhere these days. And of course, I'm to myself. So I'm glad you're here. Linda, I see you. How you doing, Linda? Thank you for joining us. Safi, Safi is here. And Safi, you spoke as well. So she's the one that said, whenever I think of being famous, I think not being able to go to the grocery store. Depends on the level of fame, I guess. I think it depends where you are. The level of fame. I love that concept.
Hmm.
I want to know, what do you think of the idea of levels of fame?
Oh, definitely. I think there's levels of fame. It's very humbling because it's the same thing like being a parent, right? You can get all the accolades for your kids when you're out in public, or it's the end of the school year, they're getting their awards, and then at home it's like, you're just they're just anybody else, right? And so I think the whole thing is navigating through that and understanding, because it does come with highs and lows. You could be in the middle of a really popular book, but all the behind the scenes to that book is, two or three people helping you during the journey, or, you host events and only two people show up. I mean, there's so many things that people see the finished product that they get all excited about. And you're like, do you know this was like pulling teeth to bring this to pass, you know? because nobody was showing up.
Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned that part of our lives. Look, I feel famous for what I do, because before events came in, no one knew anything. No one cared. No one knew. Right? I posted every day, tumbleweeds, right? Nothing happened. Right? As soon as events came in, I started doing events more and more and more. So more people get to know who Annie is. I remember in audio days, I think we got to 120 in the room quite easily.
Yeah,
So, you feel, yes, I'm getting there. I'm really getting there. But let me tell you what sort of freaks me out and sort of changed my mind on this journey. Now, number one, every time I turn around and analyze what do my clients get out of that event,
mhm,
the answer was usually nothing. So there's me celebrating that 120 people turn out. And my client is like, yeah. And I'm like, "Ooh, okay, so it's not about numbers of people. It really isn't. you know?
absolutely.
So I think I called most of the people I invited. I just stopped inviting people who don't spend money, who don't want to support each other.
Mhm,
Some people are here just to learn, just to hang out, which is fine. But
mhm,
I'm not going to spend my time inviting those people and building those relationships with who are going to not lead anywhere. I became happier having 25 people in your potential customers, my clients,
mhm.
than 120 who are just there. There's some
Yeah,
events, there's hundreds of people. The announcement, there's nothing beyond the numbers.
right.
Really not. And that frustrates me.
Mhm,
I think even today, I was doing an event and there's only a handful of people. As long as I have a good conversation, as long as my co-host, my client, my special guest gets to make the points I want to make, I'm more than happy with that. I did say one day when I get only one person in the audience, I would do the same show as I would do for 100. Would I? Yeah, I really think I would. I would just have as much fun. I'm glad you're all here today, my friends. I really am.
mhm.
Billy, so I see you. So I'm glad you're here. Thanks for hosting this live. That's one of the chef's friends. I'm sure. Shout out to everyone who our kids are in the audience. They'll be here. I'm sure. You got 15 kids in the show. There's no kids that turn up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know who this LinkedIn user is. It's on my badge. Different screen. LinkedIn
Mm.
user. Anthony. Anthony, where have you been, man? Good to see you. I don't think that's someone else. Okay, Poor Bailey. No idea who that is. Great to meet you. It was beautiful response. It's so refreshing to hear this perspective of fame. This is why we're doing the show, my friends. There's perspectives that we've never thought of, even heard of. So, Liana, always great to have you here, of course. Superstar, Yolanda. This woman is supporting everyone. She really is. Of course, most shows I know on front is always offering amazing comments. Stacey, good to see you again. Hooray, indeed.
Mhm.
What do I see? Have I missed anyone? What's this conversation?
And while you're doing that, Annie, because you do such a great job, I learned early on with video to stick to one thing. So I'm the one that's just talking, and hey, people saying stuff in the comments, and it's like I could have answered that live, because I'm just one track mind. But what I would say is it's kind of like how you write a book and everybody's so excited about the book being done,
Mm.
but then they don't think about the marketing, right? So the
Yeah.
book is just the beginning and everything that you have to do on the other side. So I think that's what fame is about, right? Because you have a highlight reel, something that happens in 5 minutes, a speech or an event or whatever, a certification or award that you receive. But the work is behind the scenes. It's the stuff when nobody else is watching. And so I think we really kind of get that mixed up. It's like, oh my gosh, I got this award. Now I can just relax. I remember my husband talking about Tiger Woods, how when he would win, he would get right back out on the golf course to start preparing for the next whatever that was coming up. And I think that's one of the things that many people sell themselves short on, is that they have a great night and they think that that's going to carry them. But people, yeah, they'll reward you, be excited about that, but then it's on to the next thing. So you have to stay doing the work and staying relevant.
Yeah, I love that. It's about the work, my friends. It's about the work.
Mhm.
The work that got you to that point of being famous or being visible or being known must carry on. Um, I think we see this every day, Michelle. We see people like the ones we know, the Zuckerbergs of this world, the Bezos of this world, Elon Musk of
Mhm.
this world. Yes, they're well known, they're famous, but beneath all of that is a mission that they're on. They
Mhm.
have, if you think of even Bill Gates, for example, his thing
Mhm.
is to fund cures for diseases, and that's always been his thing. If
Mhm.
you don't like it well, then you think he's trying to sell software. Of course it is. His fame is there to help him to fund the things that he wants to really change in the world. Right? And like you're saying, that's normally the work that we do. Right? I think
Mhm.
that's a realization. If my wife says you only ever get 15 minutes of fame, I'm like, no, when I get famous, I'm going to be famous forever. She's like, no, you won't. I'm like, I will. That's what you're talking about too just now, right?
Yes. You gotta keep doing it. I mean, I think, I can't live off of the great things that I did for my kids when they were babies.
Mm.
My daughters, they now appreciate that because their parents, some of them are, right? But when they're not a parent and they haven't crossed over to the other side, then they have no appreciation for the past and what I did, growing up, or just the whole thing of having children. Nobody understands that until they get to that point. So, if that's the case, right, we have to understand that we have to remember to stay relevant to everybody. And I think for some people, the idea of fame is, very um self concerned. I can't even think of the word, self-centric, right? But you're not going to be famous for very long if you have that attitude, right? You have to really be um, thinking about the other people that you might be serving or who's your audience. And so that comes from being relevant and connected to them. The minute, you think about people who rise to fame within an organization, right? They started out at the bottom like everybody else. And, you have this story for some people where they get to be a CEO or somebody higher in the chain of command, and they no longer relate to people. They turn into another person. And so we have not been taught a lot around how to manage that fame and that change and transition. And so I think this is a good conversation because you have to stay relevant. You're in that position as an influencer, but a decision maker around what are the things that are most important in order to have the company grow and expand, not to minimize or diminish other people and their worth because you've accomplished something great.
And I think that is so important. It really, I think we have to keep humble. That's really what I'm doing. Keep humble and keep focused. There's a reason we're doing what we're doing. It's not just to get famous, to serve more people. And so I don't think that mission ever ends. I love what you said. It's things we do when no one's looking. It really, literally is that. And some last me, some last me yesterday. That's what it's like. why are you still awake at 4 in the morning? I'm like, I work at night when I was there. That's when I work. Like, this
Mhm.
is normal time for me, but I do what I have to do. That's my real work it happens when everyone's asleep. I like it.
Mhm.
Now, I think that it's the same for all of us. Now, would there ever come a time, maybe if you build a machine, if you build a team, if you build an organization, you can almost let others get on with the main mission. But I think that almost takes away from what you've achieved,
Yeah.
right? Uh, and maybe there's also a fine point about FOMO. So a lot of people will keep doing to keep in front of everyone, to keep visible, to keep
Mhm.
on screen, so to speak. Because they're fearing like what happens if I stop, they will forget. They might, they probably won't. Right? And
Mhm.
let's come back. Let's come back. Let's come back. There's a bit before that, right? So Natalie, how you doing? So glad to see you, my friend. Glad you're here. Hopefully you're getting better. Hopefully, great to see you. We'll talk soon, Nat. I'll respond to your WhatsApp message. Stacey says important point about not forgetting who you serve. That's the
Mhm.
ultimate aim. That's what all this is about, right?
Mhm.
I don't know what else it can be for. Just being on telly. On telly for what? For nothing? No. That causes more depression than it causes more upset than help, right? Uh,
Mhm.
so when I have these different perspective and when the kids do grow, then what? The kids don't grow. That's another realization, right? What do we do then? Meredith, welcome. Miss Margaret, of course, I see you. Consistency, yes. Look, if you got any questions for Lachelle, please, now's your time. Anthony, say you've been away for a while. Of course you have. I'm glad you're back, though. I'd love to hear some of your perspectives. So, Phil, how you doing? Philip, good to see you. Gladys, I see you too. Let me see anyone. I don't think I have. If
I
I have,
know we did have a question before, and I remember we
yeah,
talked about this one.
yeah.
I do want to shout out Keith Keller, and I'm trying to figure out where the question is. Oh, here it is. Once we get good at what we do, there are a lot of demands on our time. How do we deal with that? And I
Yes.
love what you said around, you grow and it's like, what things do you give to other people? For me, anything that deals directly with a person with communication, that is something that I do all the time. I just cannot delegate that. Now, if it's something that I could put in an email, I do have a VA who does emails for me, but we meet every week to go over my emails. What I'm going to be sending them. She sends me the email, the rough draft, and lets me see if there's anything else I want to add, if I want to change, because I feel like that is the most important place to be in communication with the people that you serve, that are in your network. Um, Things that I can do just on autopilot, if I'm giving people information on a regular basis, that's something that I can automate or do. But um, and I don't know if that's just from me being an only child. I think maybe that could be it. I'm the person that talks to my kids. My husband's like, "Okay, you're doing way too much talking. What's the where are we going with this? Okay? We don't have all night. You're doing this lecture and everything, but that's just me, right? I want to make sure that everybody understands we're all on the same page. So I love that part about interacting with people because so many opportunities have come for me engaging with people directly. They may not have even thought about something, but because we have a relationship, then I come across their mind. So I had this one time where somebody in my network had a major situation where their VA wasn't able to do some work for them. And so she reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I need a VA. Do you know anybody that I could use? And I'm thinking, I'm not a VA. I don't have a VA business or anything, but I had three people in my network that I referred to her. And I was able to do it within 5 minutes. I had another lady who she was trying to finish a book and she called me and she's like, "Do you know anybody that could help publish or edit or anything?" And I was like, "Absolutely." I sent her three people. So I feel like I'm not a publisher. I'm not a VA. I don't have a VA business. I don't have a publishing business. But the fact that I was top of mind for them, I think that is powerful because of our relationship. They looked at me as a resource, as somebody who could help them, even though I'm not in that field. So I think that's one of the things that is really important when it comes to our relationships is being in a space to where we are top of mind, whether it's something that we do or not. As a result of me introducing the lady to the publisher, she had her launch on Zoom and had me be the host. So it's like a totally different audience I might not have even had the experience of being around simply because I gave her three names. You know what I'm saying? So I think that relationship part, that's something that we need to be very hands on with.
No, and again, I love that. That is so true. Like, look, it's easy to think we've outgrown everyone and everything. Like, and indeed, like, sometimes we do outgrow some people that we meet on the journey. Like, I don't think it takes away from the importance of building those relationships. Like, actually being
Mhm.
real and being real with people and like, being open minded and being genuine. I see many people who they think they're stars or everyone else is. But you in the show, you definitely you're not that person. I know that for sure. The work. Many people don't see the work Lachelle does every day. I do. So I get your emails. I get your invites. I get your WhatsApps. I get Lachelle's always doing and always good. So
Appreciate that.
like brother Charlie is saying like reciprocity indeed. Just being you.
Mhm.
That's what it comes down to, right? So Gladys, I think I worked with you earlier. So the correct
And
question.
somebody asked about your time. So I think, your time, you become empowered with your time, right? The more famous you can be, So one of the things, I did a lot of groundwork. I was just talking to a person that I got connected with earlier today. And, my YouTube has like 600 and something videos on it because I was doing the work. I had my head down. It was
No
during the
one's
pandemic
no
and I
one's saying
was doing
no one say you doing
huh?
no one say you doing the work. No one say you're making all those videos, right?
Yeah, so you see what I'm saying? So the proof is there, but I feel like once you get to a certain point, you learn about people, you become a master at what you do. And so you can begin to categorize and understand where your time needs to be spent. So if I have people who are maybe new to coaching, there is a different way that I approach a person new to coaching as opposed to somebody who has been around the block for a few times. So being able to understand that you can manage that time and what it is that you need from the person, what they need from you, and so, you can be empowered to do whatever you want with your time. Are you gonna have videos that they watch instead of talking to them every day? What does that look like for you? And I think as we get to be masters of whatever it is that we do, we forget about that. You just kinda have this mindset of thinking, "Oh, I can just do this on a larger scale." Well, for me, I'm not interested in that. I'm expecting my 8th son, um, in September, and so I value family, being able to be there with my daughter when the baby comes, and this is why I have a network of people, because I may not be able to coach you, but I have somebody else who can. We can all collaborate, and you find different ways to show up that can still be impactful, that are helping you to navigate your life behind the scenes, in a way where you can continue to show up. I think sometimes, just me learning the wrong way to do it, dealing with depression, I was showing up, but I wasn't showing up at my best. I was exhausted, I was burnout, I felt like I was obligated to do stuff, just a number of things that I am not interested in going back to that place.
Yeah, yeah. Again, there's many things that you mentioned there. I think it still comes down to just being humble and being genuine. Of course, mastery I think that's a question in itself. That's a whole show. Mastery before fame, or fame that leads to mastery. I think that's a question.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I hope I choose to believe mastery will bring the results that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, if you're just winging it, like getting famous, I'm sure it could destroy you, right? So because suddenly, like you're visible, and you can't do what you say you do. Like, you're not who
Exactly.
you say you are. Like, that's what
Mm-hmm.
like, you really want to be so good at what you do that like you can do it better, you can do it faster, you can do it you can do it in many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, again, I think that's a reality for us to learn. Being famous doesn't mean we work less. It really doesn't. Like, it means
Mm-hmm.
work. We might do something different slightly, but it's not different to what is now so, which is where we started in the first place. Right? We're
Yeah.
here for a reason, and that reason doesn't go away. Like, I'm here to help people get visibility. I'm saying no matter how big I think I get, that'll still be my that still be my primary mission.
Yeah.
And how I do that is many different ways. Like you say, I can have contractors, I can have friends who do stuff for us, and have staff who do stuff for us. And ultimately, I've still got to be invested in the mission. That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
nah, there's so many different ways of looking at it.
Right.
I
Well,
love.
and I think also, you work smarter, right? It's so funny that I'm just now thinking, I always have my kids like do something creative with their teachers and stuff. But I was just thinking, I did a press release because I did a career day for my middle school kids last year. And so I did this press release and I sent it out to local news media. So as a result, I was recently on this show that's hosted on one of the news networks. And now I'm thinking, why don't I just send a message to the administrators to the school and ask them, do they want me to come in and talk about mental health to their staff? I could do it, let them know. I mean, we are in such a crisis around mental health, especially in the schools. I mean, schools being shot up, they're on lockdown, kids bringing weapons, all kind of craziness. So, I just was thinking, why don't I just send that out? Now, is everybody going to say yes? Probably not, but there may be one person who does. And
Mm,
so I think when we have a situation of understanding our message and what we do, you don't have to always be on TV, always be in the newspaper or whatever that case is. You can begin to see who really needs what it is that you have, and aligning yourself in front of them in a way that serves them and serves you, and people will spread the word for you.
yeah,
They'll be the ambassadors for you when you're not in the room.
yeah. I like that. Like, it is using your fame to extend your mission. I keep saying those words because I think it's important. Fame is not just for the sake of, yes, I used to think it's about selling more. It's not. I think, it's like,
Mhm.
true fame is when you have those doors open for you to impact more people, about the things that are important to you. So yours is mental health and depression. I'm saying, all of us have our own different missions. Don't forget the mission. Like, stick to the mission. Keep that front of mind. I wonder what you think about now Margaret's question. She says, "Are any of your children following in your footsteps?"
I would say a number of them are, but not maybe not doing the same thing. Like I have 2 of my children that are into music. One of my daughters in college, she was inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame at her local college for singing. My son has been in some famous gospel artists video, Lecrae. 2 of my sons were in his video that he did with Andy Mineo. And I'll try to remember these things and put them in the chat. But I feel like they are following in my footsteps and being able to embrace whatever their gift is. They don't feel like they have to do what their brother's doing or what their sister's doing. They are very confident with owning their own gift and not compromising. And so because they have that attitude about it, I think that they're going to go a lot further than me because they have that at a younger age and they don't have to make excuses or make apologies for not fitting in a square peg, because they recognize, oh, I'm round. I can't, that's not even my spot. So I think in that aspect, I can say that a lot of them are in that space. Um, Maybe not coaching, but they are in their own lane doing what it is that they desire to do.
Again, I think when your kids are they're on telly as much as anyone else's kids, I can imagine. Because when the show turns up, there's all of them. You're like, wow, I've seen that more than once. So they must have the confidence
Mhm.
to be visible. But like you said, whilst doing their own thing, I think that's an important skill to have.
Mhm.
Margaret Natalie says, "Our kids are not to follow our footsteps." That would be silly, right? I've been faced with serious medical, right? I'm accountable to those I serve, and what is some of these things, right? To the people, we need to answer to ourselves and those we serve. Everything else is background. Right? Then again, oh, right? Is it though? Is it though? It's like, because suddenly when you're famous and shit, everyone's people are looking at you, whether you like it or not. They are looking at you. They're watching your videos. They what every time you're up here on the show, every time you're in the paper, people they're thinking of you making judgments, right? Like, do we have anyone else to think about apart from ourselves and those we serve? Maybe family. Literally, our reputation suddenly now is there. It's something. Yesterday, no one cared. Today, now everyone cares. Or someone
Yeah.
cares.
Well, I think, as long as you remember who you are, because, even you may serve somebody and you might have just people who spectate on what you're doing and you don't serve them right now. I think understanding your position is important, because you never know who's watching. Like I went someplace, I was in Dallas, I believe, and I'm on the Clubhouse app. And so we were somewhere, my network founder, she tells the story all the time. We were doing some event and somebody said, I was introducing myself and they were like, "Oh no, I know who you are. You're America's Supermom. I hear you all the time on Clubhouse." So I feel like you just never know who's listening. And if you are true to yourself, then it's always going to work out. you know, because I have people who make negative comments on some stuff that I do, and I feel like we all have a voice, and it's like people don't know you, right? They may know or assume certain things about you, and I, for one, love for people to give me feedback without and giving me a voice rather than just saying something that they believe to be true without giving me an opportunity to speak on it. So I don't care if it's negative or positive. The fact that you give me an opportunity to express myself, I'm happy about that. But I think, um, people get caught up in the fact that life happens for all of us. And you know, um, we're going to have things that are going to knock us off our square, whether it's a death in the family, someone loses a job. Christmas Eve, one of my kids was shot, right? And that was a
Really?
hard, traumatic thing. Yeah, he was shot. We get a call at 1 o'clock in the morning, and he's a teenager, okay, out doing crazy stuff. I mean, I can be on the other side of just now I have a lot of peace about it, but during that time, that was a hard call to get. He was fine. He was discharged within hours and didn't have to have surgery. I mean, so many blessings out of that whole situation. But I think people forget that, yeah, you can be famous, but you still got to live this life like a human.
Yeah.
So things are going to happen to you. You might be caught up in a tornado and your house is destroyed, or, so I think sometimes people think fame can excuse you from life's issues that can happen for everybody. And so if you're caught up in that thinking as someone who may be an influencer, you're in for a rude awakening because life is going to happen. And that's one of the things that I enjoy about the people that I serve is that I don't have any problem being transparent because for years I had so many walls up that I couldn't relate to people. So on the outside, it seemed like I was relating to you. I was with my kids and I was, taking them to practice and staying and watching them during, practice while they were at soccer. But I was not relating to people because I felt like I could not show any flaws. I had to be picture perfect. And now I'm like, life happens for everybody. It's so funny. My kids, they'll come in, or my husband, he is the main one. He'll say, "But you're America's supermom. What will people say?" And I'll say, "Nothing. I'll tell them myself." Okay. Because he, try to hang that. I'm like, do you know how done I am with trying to people please? I'm telling you, I lost 13 years of my life in depression and I can't get that back, but I'm not going back there, where I'm concerned about being rejected or, people not liking me or not agreeing with what I do. I am so over that. So, yeah.
I love that. Again, look, as for a partner, there is a bit of me that thinks when you become well known, even
Mhm.
things, we have to be a bit more discerning about how we behave, what we do and don't. You know, there's no point working so hard to get famous and then become the drunkard on the street. You wouldn't like something like people see you misbehaving, infamy of fame. I know what to say. Infamy, it can help, if you want to be known for that thing. I think in business, I think we have to be very careful. We have to be choose about how we behave. Uh, Doing the right thing is not that hard. Being a nice person is not that hard. Because exactly that, Miss Margaret. Be authentically you.
Mhm.
So for you, Lachelle, you're a lovely person. You always have been. And if someone doesn't like it, oh, well, get over it, right? It's their
Mhm.
problem, not yours. Whereas I think some other people bring their own problems on themselves. Someone suddenly gets famous and then suddenly they say they're junkies, they're crazy. Like, why would you do that? In business, I don't think we can. You know, can you afford to do that? You can, but like, it's a cost. But just be
Mhm.
you. I think that's the thing with Marvel. Is be you and be your best self. That's not
Mhm.
that hard. It can't be that hard. I'm glad you said. So glad everything worked out for your son. I think,
Oh,
thankfully,
yeah.
thank
I tell everybody, and it's so funny that people behind the scenes, it is something every day in our household. I mean, it just is something every day, and I've learned that, um, I never really have a situation where I feel, uh, ashamed or, embarrassed about a lot of the things that my kids do. Now, when I was going through depression, yes, I felt like they had to be perfect. Nothing could be wrong. They can't be doing any of these things. But I've learned that I'm not fully loving my kids if I don't want to talk about all that who they are, right? They're going to make bad choices. Okay, so I'm not just going to throw them out to the wolves because they made a bad decision. I feel like I want my kids to feel that they can tell me anything, that they feel like, whether it's good, bad, whatever, I value us having a relationship. And so, so many people miss out on life because, nobody is going to be perfect. I have a friend, I actually met her. We went on a school field trip. We were roommates. Our kids had to go to DC, and so we were chaperones and we were roommates. And we meet like once a year or something for lunch. She's a teacher, and we just maintained this relationship. Well, her daughter was going through transgender things where, she was switching over, and she felt so comfortable talking to me. And I'm like, she's my friend. If she can't talk to me, who is she going to talk to? you know, um, just asking her about how she's doing and that whole process because, our kids make their own choices and we can't love them any less because of their choices. And I want to be a part of her life as a friend. So I don't want her to feel like, okay, I can't be all who I am with Lachelle, because I don't want to tell her this. I live too much of my life that way. And I think we should just be able to be ourselves. And you just never know who can support you. If there's people that I could introduce her to, I was able to introduce her to people on LinkedIn, that were dealing with that. So I think it's important to understand that this is a part of life. Okay. And it's not me making a decision for my kids, it's them making their own decision. And so learning how to navigate through that.
that's what makes you a great human, full stop, right? As you like to say, it's constructive criticism gives you clarity and insight. You get to know you can't get to your own, you can't get on your own while still honoring your dignity.
I have to
Right.
plug in I'm here. My computer is
No, I think that I agree with you, and I think that being open to ideas. I talk a lot about radical openness. Somehow, get somewhere, right? Being open to ideas, to people, to opportunities. I think that my takeaway from at this stage of the conversation is we need to be open to opportunities, and we need to be humble and be open to what's out there. You never know who the next big idea is going to come from. So there's no, even when you're famous, you can't afford to be ignorant. And I see every day people who they suddenly become too important to be told. How dare you talk to me? Do you know who I am? Sort of conversation. I don't care who you are. You're human, right? I think we have to have that approach to life with stuff where we're open to what if we shut ourselves off, then we miss opportunities. That's
Mhm.
So again, I agree with you,
Well,
Charlie.
it's like that saying, something like, money just magnifies more of who you are.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you get more famous and have more money and you start acting that way, then, you might have already been that way. You
Mm,
just now have a bigger platform to still be that way. So I
yeah.
think that's something to be mindful of, right?
And again, I'm glad my friends are perturbed by the Sunday shots as they should be. In the UK, that would just that's unheard of course. In the US, you don't have that.
Mhm.
I'm coming to US next week, by the way. I'm coming past the US, that's it. I'm going past New York. If any one of you lots are in New York, anyone near JFK airport, then let me know. Yeah, but otherwise, like my wife said, nah, they've got guns. We're not going out of the airport. I agree, my beloved. But, I was there a few years ago. I think
Mhm.
Mr. Rochelle, I see you. I see you somewhere. Where am I? What did William say? Okay. So William says, sorry, no, forget about being late. You're never late, right? How are you defining fame? Oh, Bill, fame is when people know who you are. This is where we start the
Mhm.
conversation. Now, for me, fame is if you're on TV, on radio, and magazines. Fame is when people know who you are for what you do, as Michelle said. Right? It's all of those things.
Mhm.
And I think is having a visibility that we won't have otherwise. The visibility that being good at what we do, being successful at serving people brings us. That's my idea of fame.
Mhm.
When I was saying in my business, when I talk about fame, I always say so your business sells more. So for me, it's about the people you serve knowing who you are. I don't think there'll ever come a day when everyone knows who you are. I
Mhm.
really, I don't. That day's that it hasn't. I don't know. It's ever happened to you, sure. No, but like I said, when I see famous people, I can look straight past it without even looking back at all. Without even, because I don't want to harass you on the street. It doesn't mean I don't know who you are. But
Mhm.
no one is gonna. There's no one that everyone knows and likes. No one. Not even Trump. You're gonna call him that. Let's say that. So, as many people like him as a hater, right? That's fame for you. Yeah, but many people will know who you are even when you're famous. As long as enough people know who you are, that you can push your agenda, I call that famous. But Lachelle's on TV. Lachelle, like, paint a picture for me, please. Like, help us. Like, how do you get famous? Start
You
where
know,
you take it where you like.
I think it is a mindset because, you want to put out there what you want to reflect back to you. And starting where you are. So we want to delegate our opportunity to interact with people. But if you recognize that you are famous and nobody can position themselves like you, then it would be you being the one that would talk to somebody who's in your network. So, for example, you have people who send you direct messages. Have you considered how much more powerful it could be to send a voice message as opposed to just a text message? Sending them a personal video. I think we don't take the opportunities to leverage our expertise and our ability to connect, especially now with AI. I mean, I see so much AI that, really it's doing a good thing. It's deterring me from really being on social media. I am now finding I want to read more, I want to interact with people in person. I am not motivated to be on social media outside of checking my notifications. So, I think we don't leverage that enough, being able to speak to people one on one and making those connections and alignment collaborations for our success with our business. And you don't have to have a lot of followers. I'm a part of a community on Clubhouse, and we had a lady come and speak to us around brand partnerships. So she was on Instagram, and I think she had less than 1,000 followers, and she liked to travel, and she took her kids with her. Well, now she's an Instagram influencer, and she got their attention when she had less than 1,000 followers. Now she has a lot, but the whole point is, we minimize the value that we bring to our industries, the people we serve, our relationships, and we're waiting sometimes for that big break. But as we continue to be who we are and show up, that break is going to happen more times over by just being authentic and leveraging the network that we have, the experiences, the skills, and everything to be more successful.
I love that. Now you're talking. I guess the big break, I think, is where my mind goes. The overnight success thing, the overnight fame thing, where suddenly yesterday no one knew me, today they do, today the world knows me. And you're saying
Mhm.
that's not how it happens. It's through the one-to-one relationships. That that's where it all starts, right?
Well, I believe that's what makes it go viral, so to speak, because, people feel like you're talking to just them, right? Um, because you have that ability to connect and um, not be moved by the noise that's happening. If you do posts that resonate with your audience, they're going to feel like you're talking to them. That anybody else does not get them like you get them. So we spend too much time thinking about the masses. But if you focus on that one person, that's going to catapult you so much further than trying to talk to a group. It's a lot better if I say, hey, Annie, how are you? As opposed to, hey, y'all, how's everybody doing? They can just fade in the background, not feel like I'm talking to them. But if I know their name and I'm speaking to them directly, they're going to, be at attention.
Again, I love that. That's such an important point. It really is. So I've got many clients I work with, and when I say to them, look, come and do events, right? Like, come and meet people and talk to them. Come and build real relationships. Like, talk to your potential customers. Like, no, it's too slow. No, it's the only way. And because they want the breaks, they want it to be on TV, they want to be viral. Like, but I think like, look, I've just posted like this again, and I'm working on a book about quotes, and I think I'm
Oh,
gonna
yeah, I love that.
I'm gonna put you really. I think like it is those one-to-one connection relationships that truly make it. Like, that's what makes us where we want to get to.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that. So, but still, the show. Like, that said, right?
I love quotes. Me and my aunt, we have to go round and round. Okay, so William says for me to get my book if I prefer reading. Well, put your book link in the comments so we can
Yeah.
support you with your book. Okay.
Yeah. How many books have you got on the show? You got 5 books. That's my
5 books, I think. 5 or 6, I'm telling you. Look, I'm putting it out there, right? I feel like a book is just the beginning, truly. There's so much work I need to be doing with promoting them. Same thing, TV. I have, 3 seasons of my own show, and it's like I don't talk about it a lot. I have a podcast, all these different things, but I feel like I don't it's kinda like my kids. I have to meet people, get in a conversation, because if I tell them how many kids I have, then it's like I lose the conversation. "Oh
yeah.
my gosh, 15 kids. Are they all yours? Are they adopted? What
Yeah.
size is your house? Are you and your husband together? Do you have any twins?" I mean, it's like, "Okay, okay, okay." I can't even answer all the questions.
Now,
So I
now
think that
why?
sometimes happens with content, right? It's like, oh my gosh, you're a coach, you do this, you do that, and it's like I just don't want to be a water hose to people, So I have to kind of do things in doses, right? So everybody, and I say that to my kids because they'll say something, and I'm like, look, everybody doesn't have a big family. So what is easy for you, it could be overwhelming for somebody else. You telling them how many brothers and sisters you have. That's overwhelming. People are like, "Oh my gosh, how do you keep them all straight? When's their birthday?" All this different stuff. So it's like you have to be strategic around introducing that information to people because it can really make the whole conversation just really go into a different way you hadn't even anticipated.
Hmm. Yeah, no, like again, like, normality is that normal is normal, and every day
Mhm.
is normal, whether famous or not. Let's keep that in mind, right? Like I said, but choosing what you tell people is one to think about, right? Yeah. Let's come back a bit. So your TV shows, let's say,
Mhm.
you've been on, so you're on Zondra TV every week, every day. You're on every day, yeah.
Yeah, so it is, actually every week my show airs, different episodes, but it's also I have the capacity to be on demand. So if you have a direct link, you can watch the show at any time. And then I also have a, channel, so I have a channel called Keep It Real TV, and it is for creators who maybe they have shows on LinkedIn or YouTube, and they're tired of the algorithms of trying to monetize. So they can bring their content to TV. You can have up to 24 episodes, and this gives you the opportunity to get more exposure by leveraging the numbers that are with the network in order to create your own ways to monetize with brands, organizations, and things of that nature. We also offer ancillary services for people who want to increase their visibility, which makes that an option of income for people too. If they want to get professional press releases done, if they want to have a TV produced commercial for their brand, maybe a book trailer. We also have a new channel, Go Shop America, that's going to be launching soon, where you can have products that are actually featured on the channel, somewhat like a home shopping channel with your own link. And people can buy your products that way or services. And then we have brand spotlights. So it works where your business is spotlighted on the uh, front of the network page. So when they go to Zandra TV Network, you have the list of categories of shows. Well, one of the categories is brand spotlight. So people can be featured talking about their business with their own customized link and URL that will allow them to send the audience wherever they want them to go, whether it's their website, a certain particular call to action, and things of that nature. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
That's in a nutshell. Well, apart from the mastermind group that you have, your networking group, and the fact that you were a guest on several shows, frequently, all of that. Like, Bill, I'm not gonna hide it. Look, when I say I want to make you famous, I want to put you on TV, magazines, and on radio. That's my idea of fame. If I do that, I think we will get enough visibility to begin to make my friends closer to being household names. That's my idea of fame, right? But I said the other things that Lachelle does that no one sees, I think they count as well, right? Like, it's not waiting for that big moment, that big break. It is
Mhm.
those things that you do consistently, almost consistently, for the child, right? It's those things that truly do matter. Bill,
Well,
I know.
I think one of the things that you might consider, since you deal with a lot of authors, is having your own channel. Because what you could do is have it the name that you have for this show, but it's another service that you can offer for your authors, that they can have an interview that's going to be on TV, because so many people don't understand the power of marketing. It happens when we have an event. Okay, we make a flyer, we create the event, and then nobody shares it. I mean, it's just a lot of things that go into getting people in the room and getting them present that we just take for granted. We just think it's just going to happen on its own. There is a shift that we have to do mentally in order to leverage these opportunities. And even, people feel like, oh, I don't want to feel like I'm bragging by telling them to come and watch my show. But if you feel like you have a good message, well, then why wouldn't you want them to hear that? You know, but
I thought,
it's some kind of thing we have to get over.
yeah, no, I think that we, as a marketer, we need that visibility. We need people to know you're there. And we need to not, it's not brag about it. If you don't tell people, they won't know it's there. And there's nothing
Mhm.
more heartbreaking than having a solution that the people you're here to serve don't know. That's my take. That's why I talk about fame. That's why I do anything I can to get visibility for anyone. You know? But Bill, I get your point. It says I still don't understand how you guys are defining fame. Because in today's world, anyone that can pick up the camera and make a few minutes of fame, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're famous. They're famous. Famous to me is Michael Jackson, Whitney
Mhm.
Houston, Halle Berry, right? Bill, I get what you're saying, of course. No, but no, what I'm realizing is that fame is not necessarily the famous as you call it. When you get to Michael Jackson, so an A-star celebrity person to become famous in business, right? And I know you're famous in business yourself,
Mhm.
but I say, I think we need to get known by the people we're here to serve. That's fame to me. That's why I mentioned the sales TV shows and the sales network, the mastermind. These are things that have people trying to know industries on a big scale.
Mhm.
I said, when the world says we see you, that's fame. When the world says, come and be on my show. Like, come,
Mhm.
come and share your message. I'll take it. That's fine. I did write an article for my newspaper, for the magazine. Okay, that's all fake.
Mhm.
I guess I would challenge anyone to think about pre that visibility
Mhm.
when nothing was happening as far as we could see. No one cared. Everyone just carried on. And whatever we did was hard work, right?
Mhm.
Yes, yes, Gladys. Busy lady, you don't even know how. I watch many of the shows. That's with her as a host and as a as guest speaker. It was amazing. All time back. If I was in the US, Lachelle, I would definitely come to you and say, I come to you and say, I'm interested in having a channel, for example.
Mhm.
I haven't worked out how to do a decent show from the UK.
Yeah,
That's
see, that's another thing that a reason why I brought that up is because, you know, there is a audience that we're serving naturally. We already build a community, and one of the challenges with people being on TV is they feel like they have to change to be on TV. Now, I do have a show that is, Bill was asking what kind of show. It's like a talk show. You
yeah.
come on, you talk about your business. It's called Real Life Without Excuses. And I talk to business owners who overcame trauma or anything in their life that they got tired of telling themselves excuses. They just wanted to get to work. So that's pretty much the premise of the show. But that show is produced in a studio. I go there, we film over a couple days. I don't have to do anything else but just show up and be the host. But the people who I want on my channel, which is called Keep It Real TV, is people who are everyday, that have overcome things, and they have an audience that they're serving. And so I want the content just like it is. I think what you're doing when you come to TV is you are just look at it as distribution. So it's no different than if you're on Restream and you're on LinkedIn, you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, all these places at the same time. Well, TV is just an extension of that. And it's going to leverage your portfolio if you want other people to support you. So if you serving a audience of book publishers, book um,
Arts.
authors, right? You can go to publishers or anybody and leverage that audience because it's on TV. And so it's not a matter of, over time, yeah, that can be where you want to be in a studio and you want to change the format of the show. But too many people don't realize the value of what they already have right now. So many people post stuff, but they're not consistent. So if you have built that consistency up and you have a audience that you're serving and you get that out there with more people, that's what's going to happen. More people who resonate with what you're going to do are going to be able to see it because it's on TV, not just on social media. There's a lot of people that are not on social media. They're doing social media fast or different things like that. So having the option to be on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Zandra TV network gives you the opportunity to have more eyes on content that you've already created. I think that's another thing. We forget about how we can make passive connections while we're asleep. This stuff can be playing 24/7 in your sleep and somebody finds out about you. So that's just what I want to say about that.
For sure. This is lady you are. Bill said, well said. If I know if it's spelled, I would spell this correctly, right? Is it E? Is it double E? Keep it real,
Yeah,
or is it
that's right.
okay?
But it's KEEP.
And
You just forgot one of the E's. That's okay. But yeah, that's a channel. So anybody who has content that they want to put on TV, they can connect with me and they can see about putting it on TV. And then my show is Real Life Without Excuses. Everything is around REEL because it just reminds me that life is more than a highlight reel. So I'm very intentional with having things around that for me to recognize and always stay abreast of telling the truth about what happens behind the camera. So,
like, can I ask a question? Like, who
yeah.
inspires you? Like, who inspires you? Who do you look up to? In your media work.
I am inspired by everybody that's in my network. I'm inspired by you. I was talking to the person that I was connecting with right before this call. I was like, yeah, I've known Annie for a while. We met through somebody else, and I'm inspired by him because you are consistent and still showing up. I mean, when we go through ups and downs of technology, platform changes, and to continue to show up, I'm inspired by that because I know what it takes to send out invites, to set up events, to coordinate calendars, to have people on as guests, to be in the comments, to, engage with the audience. I know how much energy that takes. And so the fact that you still can do it and be enthusiastic and intentional, even the time that you're on, I know that it's late where you are a lot of times when I'm watching your shows, and so, that is inspiring for me because, when you're doing the work behind the scenes that people don't see, you sometimes feel like, "Is anybody listening?" Am I the only one in this picture? Okay, what is happening here? So I'm inspired by that. And it also brings up another point I wanted to make around inspiration. So when I first started coaching, I had this gentleman share about motivation versus inspiration. And my question was, I was like, so how do you motivate people? When we're coaching them, how do we get them to take action? And he said, that's a good question. He said, but motivation is fleeting. He said, so what you want to do is you want to inspire people because inspiring them will cause them to want to move and take action. So, the way that you inspire people, he said, is that the better you get at your job, people will put you on a pedestal, but you don't have to stay there. He said, when you're on a pedestal, you're standing above the people and you're not on their level. But when you get down on their level, you'll be able to impact more people. And so I have never forgot that. And I think that's the mission that I have is to inspire people. I'm very open about my life and the things that happen to me because I want people to get out of their own head and stop making excuses because everything we have the power to do. We just can't do everything, right? So if I'm having challenges with my kids, I can get coaching for that. I can go to counseling. I can fix it, right? And so I live too much of my life trying to be perfect and it was miserable. Okay. So I definitely want to model for people that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to laugh at your mistakes. It's okay not to do everything. It's okay. So that's what I would say about inspiration.
I'm glad you said that. Like, well, you certainly inspire people. Well, you inspire me for sure, and I mean many of our friends here as well. My friends, look, it's worth taking time to check out one of Michelle's shows. Do those events, those monthly events? Where
Yeah,
you,
I put them as an events. We have a new show that's coming out August the 8th. It's called Meet Me in the Boardroom. So it's an hour show. It's the first time I've done a project where the episodes are an hour long. But the launch is in Dallas, August the 8th. And it's a show around kingdom principles in business. So, how do you show up as a Christian with your values in today's uh, world? Just in the workplace, or, how do you maintain those principles with so many places where you could compromise? So, that's what that show is about.
so, I love what you're saying. It's well worth spending time. Like I say, apart from just being a great watch always, Michelle. You're always funny, yet yet to the point. Saying, I mean, you direct your guests to speak truth, but you're still Lachelle. So you say just a normal
Mhm.
person. I find so inspiring. Okay, Lachelle, what's the best part about being fit? Let me ask that in two sections.
Okay.
In terms of helping your business, what's the reality? No, does being famous mean everyone says yes to you?
Hmm. I think being famous helps you to ask for more than what you would normally limit yourself to. So if you feel that, you're very confident around having a solution that people need, then it will give you that extra confidence to ask for things. And a lot of people will give you things simply if you ask. Um, I love this quote that I learned from Michael Jordan, and it is, why would I think about missing a shot that I haven't taken yet? So most of us have a predisposition, at least this was my reality, of believing the negative thing. oh, I might miss the shot. Should I even take it? We go through all this. But Michael Jordan had a positive disposition. He was like, why am I going to think about missing anything? I'm a part of the team. I'm on the court. I got the ball. I mean, that's what I'm here for, to play. I mean, I'm just paraphrasing and making up my own but dialogue about that. But my point is, oftentimes we have an answer or a message that people need to hear, but we're the ones that sabotage ourselves. We don't ask to be on certain stages. We don't share the things that we are doing. This is another situation that reminds me of. So I was doing this campaign for the month of October. This was some years ago during the pandemic, or right before the pandemic. And my dad passed away from lung cancer. So I wanted my kids to not be afraid of cancer. So we started this nonprofit uh, of our own called Pink Soldiers. And so we would do things to raise awareness around kids' cancer, because I didn't want them to be afraid of cancer. And, so anyway, this one campaign, I wore this pink wig, all for the whole month. And it really worked because I don't wear wigs. My kids, you find them, some of them with wigs or weave or everything, but that's just not my thing. And so it worked out because everywhere I went, oh, I'm wearing this wig. I know you might think it's crazy, but it's for cancer awareness. And so it really got me talking to more people because I felt like I had to explain why I had this wig on. But anyway, I was on this interview, and it was all around raising awareness for cancer. And so during the time, I had a coach, and she encouraged us to connect with so many people on LinkedIn every day in order for us to grow our audience and, begin to share our messages. And so I thought, I just don't want to reach out to random people. Who is it that I can connect with? So I grabbed Michael Gerber's book, The E Myth, and it was another version. I think it was the Financial Advisor edition or something. And so, the acknowledgments that people have, like in the front of the book. I was going through the people that acknowledged his book, and I'd look them up on LinkedIn and see if they would connect with me. But I was sending this video that I had done around cancer awareness as an attachment. So I reached out to Dr. Ivan Meisner. Now, I didn't even know who he was. Okay, I just saw his name in there, and he's the founder of BNI. So I sent the thing to him, and he connected with me. And I thought, oh my gosh, he connected with me. So then I said, let me ask him to be on my show, because I did these Facebook Lives. And so I reached out to him and asked him if he would do it. And he said, absolutely. He put me in contact with his assistant. And I thought, oh my gosh, this guy, he said yes. So I started reading up on him, and I realized I'm a reader, y'all. So I had his book. It was like Networking Like a Pro or something. And I had it in my library, and I saw that he wrote the book. And I thought, oh my goodness, he wrote this book, and I found the book. So I started promoting. I said, I'm going to have this author on and everything. So a few days before, I have him set to be interviewed. Um, I'm finding out that he's the founder of BNI. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's the founder of BNI. So he agrees to do the Facebook Live. Well, this was right around the time that Facebook switched it where you couldn't go live on the platform anymore. You had to go through a third party streaming service. And so for some reason, we just couldn't get it to go live. And he was like, not a problem. You just write something up and I'll just send it to my network. And I was like, okay, absolutely. So we did the interview and everything. And I wrote up a summary and everything. So he sends it out to his network with BNI. So then later on, I end up doing another interview with them that's on my YouTube channel. But I say all that to say that, we have to not be afraid of showing up of asking for what we want, and people want to be around people who are taking action. They don't want to be around people who are coming up with 1,000 reasons why they can't do anything, coming up with reasons why it's not going to work. You don't want to be around that energy. So take the network that you have and leverage that and ask for what you want, or align yourself with the people that can help you get what you want. So that's my share on that, Annie.
I love that. So Ivan Meisner is a legend in my world. Like, any real network come across
Mhm.
Vienna sometimes. Believe me, that I grew up in Vienna. I will always have good things to say. The best network is from Vienna. Sorry. I'm just saying. But look, I think your point is very important, and I can see Yolanda saying the same thing. We are so, it's not shy. I think we're scared. We're more scared of what can go wrong than what can
Mhm.
go right. I've learned that recently. Literally, if you think it, go for it. But then the go for it thing, I think, has an important. There's a point to how you go for it. Many of us think brute force is the way forward. But let me tell you, my
Mhm.
friends, what I've learned recently, different ways I've learned this. The most evident one, let me describe the one that's resonates the most today. You know what, Lachelle? I'm not a small guy. I'm not small at all, right? As in, my youngest is 17.
Mhm.
And that was it's last year. I think last year. It was last year. January time. And he does fighting exercise, and he's a fitness freak. Now his thing was right. Dad, you gotta do a pull up. On a bar, pull this stuff up. I'm like, son, have you seen the size of it? I'm never gonna pull myself up. I was like, it's not gonna happen. That's what I thought, really there and then. That's really what I thought. It's not gonna happen. He asked me to lift up 18, 20 stone of me. I've got arms. It's not a machine, right? Michelle,
Mhm.
I tried. I tried. It didn't happen. I tried. I tried. No, I tried. I kept trying. I kept trying. And I was every so often I would make him look cool. Like there was a time I couldn't lift myself up at all, literally.
Right.
Let me tell you, there's a difference between kind of hold your hands forward and lift yourself that way. That's that way, right? I can do it
Yeah.
that way. I realized sometimes one I'm like, oh, I can lift myself up. Whereas that way I'm dead. I'm like a stone. I'm just there, right? Today, you know what, Michelle? I've done this for so long, right?
Mm.
I had this 6 months break, which I had to go home. The other day, he's talking about, hmm, I wonder if that's what it is. Like, the reason I'm telling everyone this is because I think we mistake the journey to achieve big things. We think it's gonna, if we think it's gonna be easy and it's not, and it's not.
Mhm.
We don't realize what's really necessary. And what I'm learning is really necessary. Total. I'm hell of high water. Even if it kills me, I will lift myself up on that.
Yeah.
That's what I had to tell myself that. Yes, my arms, my elbows are in pain half the time because my tendons are to go. But this is what it takes, right? And you,
Yeah.
you know what the best part is, Michelle? The other day, I lifted myself above the bar. I'm like, wow! I'm like, wow! You know,
I love it.
it's a lesson. It's a lesson in life for everyone. Like, see, when you commit to something and you really commit, and you do it, I think along the journey, we have to change our mind. Literally, we might think
Mhm.
we have to do it. We don't know how to do it because what we know
Mhm.
is force and effort. And I think very often it's more practical. Yeah,
Yeah.
but we have to just keep learning as we go. But
Mhm.
everything is real hard work. Like, but wait, when I commit to it, I get to do it in the end, right? So lifting myself up these days, I'm like, wow, I'm doing this, but it's taking everything I've got. That's what I'm trying to say to everyone, right? It's taking everything to keep those big things. So
Yeah.
yes, they're scary for a reason. They're big things, right? If you
Hmm.
think that big, it will take you everything you've got to make it happen.
Well, and I think it's a reframe. See, because what happens is the things that we're good at, we feel like the other stuff is too hard because we don't see ourselves good at that in the beginning.
I agree.
So nobody wants to start at the bottom for things somewhere else. And so if you reframe it and say, okay, this is going to be a difficult challenge. So I'm going to do this for 15 minutes a day, because over time it's going to get easier, but we say, okay, I'm just going to do it. And we have these unrealistic expectations. But if we just say, this is going to be hard, I can only dedicate 15 minutes a day. Same thing, like maybe you want to exercise. So you're like, okay, I know I can't be doing the whole thing. It was funny. My daughter, my kids go to Stone Mountain, which is this mountain here in Georgia, and my daughter invited me, and I had never been. And so they have this halfway point where you have a place you can sit down and you can rest. And so she was like, okay, this is the halfway point, we're almost there. And I said, okay, well, I'm staying at the halfway point. I said, I've never been up here before, I'm not going to overdo it and then be sore and can't do nothing the rest of the day. Okay, I'm not doing it. So I think when we say that it's going to be hard, we give ourselves the freedom to do a little bit at a time until we continue to get stronger with that.
I agree 100%. I don't try and keep up with my son. Say he's 17, I'm 15 too. So I'm not like different world completely, right? I don't need to do as many as him to get the same results. Let's say like, but I think like, I think whatever you want to do, think it's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, and
Mhm.
then do it. And then, that prepares your mind to face the challenges and
Mhm.
to really realize that you don't know anything about what you're trying to do. So you must learn. Like, we all have to learn, truly. Like, never
And I
work on
think
discoveries.
I had this one guy, he's Busy Beats or something. I don't know, he's very famous. He's got a lot of stuff on YouTube. But anyway, what he was telling me is that when you are starting into a new area, you have to create your own metrics. See, a lot of times we go with the analytics or the metrics of other people, but you might say, "Oh my gosh, I was able to be on the bar for 5 seconds." You know what I'm saying? So next time I'm gonna stay on for 7 or whatever. Your metrics are not going to be the same as somebody else. They might be doing 1 and you're like, okay, well, I did 1, and you're not going to grow that way. So you have to understand that when you're trying something new, it could be you setting up your own things, like how many days in a row did I do it? How can I show growth in this area? If I was able to do it for this amount of time, how can I double that or whatever? So I think that's another thing is, getting yourself a baseline and then coming up with hurdles that are appropriate for you and not some one size fits all situation.
Agree 100% today. Yeah. That is so true. Everything we see is different time, different day, different person, right? And like you say,
Mhm.
we have to create our own baseline. And, I'm a different
Mhm.
person, different 2026, right now is a different time, and how it's going to work out is different for women. We have to embrace that difference. And yes, sometimes it'll be slow. Of course it will. We have to
Mhm.
embrace that reality. It's not going to stop us getting famous, by the way. If you listen to what we've said today, the journey is the journey, the mission is what makes you famous. One person at a time. It's not go big suddenly, then you can relax. It doesn't happen like that, right? It's all
Mhm.
little steps, little steps, little steps. So, I'm sure one day we'll on people point. Look, I want to welcome Linda Gray. How you doing, Linda? Linda's my next star that will be in the hot seat. Michelle. Because she's blindly famous, literally super famous. So I want to pick enjoying this as much as I'm doing with yours. That'll be in August. So I'm away next week. So when I come back in London, so I'm going to talk to. So I'd love to have caretaker as well. Paul, welcome, my friend. How you doing? Uh, do you know Paul Clayton? Have you met him?
Yes, yeah, he's in my network. Yep.
Excellent.
We have crossed paths some time ago. So yeah, he whenever I have connection calls, he's one of my people that come on my connection calls with me.
I think he's a great person, because he meets,
Mhm.
but like he's everything we're talking about here. Like again, I tell
Mhm.
you, a few months ago, no one cared who he was. Now suddenly, everyone, now he's doing events, he's making the right friends, and his messages are going further and further. Of course, he's got book as well. Welcome, Paul. So glad you're here, my friends. Keep doing what you're doing, Paul. Keep doing what you're doing. Fame will come with
Mhm.
time. Fame will come, right? So I just love this comment. You ask, you get not because you ask not. I love that.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
reaching we show it sometime today, it'll be really nice, right? Let's try it again. So, three, two, one. Yeah, you have not because you ask
Mhm.
not. We have to learn to ask ourselves for more. That's how
Yes.
success comes. It's not by sitting back and it's not by failing, by ignoring the things that can help us. Like opportunities are there in front of us every day. We can literally, we
Absolutely.
can change the world. That's what I'm trying to get people to understand.
Mhm.
It's on us. It's our time. We are it now,
Mhm.
right? The only that stuff is
Mhm.
us. It literally is just us. Are you willing to commit and
Absolutely.
go big on what you have to do to really get to what you want? Lachelle, let's come back to a bit. So, in terms of your domestic life, has being famous helped or hindered your home life?
Okay, you said has being famous helped, or you kind of broke up
Or
there.
hindered?
Say that one more time.
Hindered. Has it helped or has it held you back?
Mm, I always look at the positive. So I think it has definitely helped. Um, it has gotten me on stages that I never would have thought. I think the biggest hurdle was being an author. I was in a lot of advanced classes in school. So when I thought of an author, I thought of Shakespeare or Thoreau or some of these well known writers. And I just didn't see myself on that level until I learned that there's so many people that I want to impact the lives of that I know I physically can't talk to them myself. So it made sense for me to write about my story so that people can see that story whether I meet them in person or not. So just that mindset shift helped me to begin to explore other ways that I could get my message out there and not be afraid of it. You know, I'm not afraid to be on stage. I'm not afraid to be in front of a camera. I'm not afraid to write about my story, be in a magazine, because again, I recognize that each of these platforms gives me an opportunity to speak to a different audience that I might not have been able to speak to. And so, really being clear on my message and understanding that I can't get my 13 years that I lost back from depression, but I can make sure that somebody else doesn't lose 13 years going through what I went through. And so that's really my mission is to be bold and intentional, not be afraid to share my story. I don't care if people don't resonate with it, if they're not going to like me. I don't have any of those fears that I used to have when I was building walls up. So, and because I have that attitude, it's just opened up so many doors for me, places that I never would have thought I would be. I had this one situation, a lady on LinkedIn. We've been connected for years, and she does what I do. So, like, if I'm going out of town, in a different place, I will reach out to people on LinkedIn that live there and say, "Hey, I'm going to be in your area. Would love to meet up or whatever." So she did this for me for Atlanta. And so it just so happened my husband didn't have to work, so he was able to go with me. And so we had this meetup in Atlanta. And so we go to the event and, it was really nice. I mean, it was a packed house. So we go around meeting different people and we met Edwin Moses, who's an Olympic athlete. I mean, he's like
Best
famous,
400-meter runner of
right?
all time ever.
Okay. So I didn't even know who he was.
That's
Didn't
how
know. Okay, did not have a clue. My husband's like, "Do you know who that is?" I'm like, "No, can't tell you." Okay, because I'm like, I'm in my kids thing, and I wasn't a track runner. Okay, so I don't know. Okay, so but my point is, she invited me to this event. If I didn't go, I wouldn't have been around a famous Olympic athlete. I was able to take pictures with them, talk to him for about an hour, and really intrigued by his story and what he overcame to achieve the level of success that he had. But all from connecting with people, right? Showing up no matter what. So I think I would not have been able to put myself in a room with him and talk to him for an hour trying to do it all on my own. Um, because I have that attitude of thinking that, this is a new place, I can always get my message out there. And having that attitude to attend that event allowed me to be in front of him. So I think it definitely has helped, but again, it's a mindset. You could take it and say, "Oh, well, I'm just not going, or they paying me or whatever," and you're not going to go very far. Again, it's based on the foundation and the alignment that you have with the people that you're connected to. And when you come together with a win-win attitude, I believe it's not going to do anything but just propel you that much further.
So again, of course, I love that. I think bringing our best selves, which just means coming with kindness and just being your real self. That's not hard. Right? A lot of people don't want. I don't know what they don't
Mhm.
want to do. Some people will tell you, "I'm just not a nice person." Like, I think we're going to lose this game. If you're not a nice person, I think we're all born nice, Michelle. We're all born with kindness in our heart. That to do anything else is something that's just against who we are. And I'm
Mhm.
surprised when things get harder. Right. So Natalie asked a question. Uh, so what's been the number one collaboration that we've done together? Can I answer this one? We haven't done it. This is the first time in the middle of the show I've been on either of our show together. I've been to the show's events. It's the first time I've actually done a live together. And
Mhm.
I'm trying to find that thing that we can do together. Really. So I know doing the show with the show will be inspiring, educational, all the things I want, all the good things in life. I mean that sincerely. But I don't want to
Mhm.
waste the show's time. I want something concrete, something that's really impactful, something that's gonna make a difference. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great question because one of the things that really has transformed my mindset about collaborations is that they grow to be big, right? So there's been times that I'm like, okay, I just don't have this, I don't have that. I'm gonna wait for something else. And the opportunity really expands when you start where you are and do something. It's amazing. You'll be surprised. It's like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea that it was really gonna get to be this big," and, I think about, a collaboration I did in March with, Mike Asherbranner, for She Wins March. It was this hashtag that we had, and, something about coming together with people kinda gives you the freedom to just get excited. So, however that looks, are you going to be hosting rooms? Are you going to be, I don't know, it's just that energy where you're bringing two energies together that it really can catapult to something bigger. So, this is just an answer for everybody. If you have somebody that you want to collaborate with, I think, like, if I didn't have that mindset, I would not be on TV today because I met Zandra. We both were speakers for a virtual summit during the pandemic. And so it was one where they record your interview and then they show all the interviews over a period of 2 days. And so either hers was before me or after me. I can't remember, but I happened to see part of her interview. And I was like, who is this lady that has a network in Dallas? I've never even heard of her. So I was like, let me ask her to be on my show. So I reached out to her. And so just from that, asking her to be on my show was how I got started with being in the network because I never would have thought TV. I was lucky to be doing a Facebook Live, okay, because of all the things I was telling
Yeah.
myself. But she had an incubator is what she called it at the time, but it was an academy for 12 producers, and I was one of the first 12. And I've been the only one that stayed after all these years, still being a producer because of that foundation. And I think if I had just said, "Well, I don't really have a lot of people on my podcast. Maybe I'll wait a little longer, to have her be a guest or something like that." Um, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I think when you think about a collaboration, it's both of you coming together or 3 or 4 or however many people that can really help grow you in an area that you need to be growing, but it ends up being in ways that you wouldn't even imagine.
It's that part now. It's a growing part, right? It's making our growth, the priority, something like that's going to move us forward, something we can learn from, something that we can have more impact with. It's all of that. But I think I'm pretty like you'll agree. Even a small idea, like you say, you never know how big that can grow, right? So let's if we think it, let's go. Right? If we've got those people in our network, let's be brave. Let's have a conversation. Let's see where we can go with it. And now our time's run way over. It's in an hour. Yeah, right. Right. Okay. Right. Right, Gladys, thank you for joining us. The internet does funny things these days, especially with stream and LinkedIn together. Lachelle, now this will be one of my last questions, and I'll give you what to say what
Mhm.
you want to say. What's the biggest drawback? No, I've got two questions. What's the biggest negative about these things?
Mhm. I think, people assume things about you that may not be true. Um, they assume that, you have more resources or you have a bigger team or, they start setting the bar beyond what you may be at, and they don't give you the courtesy to see if that assumption is true or not. There's so much power in people's beliefs that it can really um, control how they think about things. So maybe they know a coach who wasn't a good coach. And, if there's anything similar about maybe your platform or your design, they assume the negative things that they might experience with them are automatically going to happen with you. I mean, there's so many things that sometimes being in a position of being famous, people can go to the extreme positive or to the extreme negative. But I think the hardest thing about that is you may not be able to express your own voice of truth, and they will follow their beliefs, and you have to overcome those beliefs in order to be able to state your truth to them. So that's one of the things that I would say. And that's one of the things that I think helps me to be even more grounded. I feel like I try to be very to explain things pretty clear as much as I can. Um, I definitely want to make it simple, but I want to give a deeper understanding as to my perspective, but also telling people that, hey, this is just my story. Somebody else's may be different. I'm not trying to change people or make them be like me or whatever the case is. I really value people sharing their own thoughts and opinions because that helps me to grow. But I think that would be the drawback is that people make decisions and assume things that may not be true and don't give you the opportunity to share the truth with them.
I can understand that people have extremes of views of who they think you are, how they think you work, and what they want to think. So do we just ignore those? Or no, I think you're saying we need the opportunity to speak our truth. Right? That's what I'm hearing, right?
Mhm.
Don't just
Mhm.
ignore it. Like, if you ignore it, it's not going to kill you. Right? Maybe what we don't want to do is become what we're not to fit their perception of us. That's really
Mhm.
well I would look at it. Be you. What people think. You do your best to give them the truth. Some will just stick to what they think anyway. Come on, how it was, right? No, so look, no, I love that. Um, I suppose my last question, Natalie's got a question in there. So I will put a question back. Here's my last question. And I said, all of us are famous people in the media.
Mhm.
Um, those of us who are doing stuff, those of us who are trying, designing solutions that people need, marketing ourselves, creating more solutions. Right? So,
Mhm.
what are your top tips? We give you 2 or 3 things that will help us prepare for that overnight success plan.
Yeah. So I say incorporate who you are and what you do in your daily routine. Um, if you are talking to people every day, really trying to find a way to capture your brand in what you do. For me, I send out personal messages, of motivation. I can do that. Any kind of graphics, when you are sending people things for their birthday, make it personal, customize it with your own picture or your own tagline or your own hashtag so that people can remember you. Um, it's not anybody else's responsibility to remember me, but it's my responsibility to be out there so people can remember me. So I think if you have that attitude and thinking about how can you show up with people every day. I'm one who preaches about the DMs, having a personal relationship with people. Yes, you can comment on a post, you can share a post, you can do all these things, but it's the DMs where the magic happens. So, finding a way to communicate with people. I might have somebody comment on my post and I may answer, but then later on, I may send them a message and say, thank you so much for supporting my post. What made you make a comment? I think we don't do enough of that for people to really be able to see. I would be impressed with that. If I made a comment on somebody's post and then they reached out to me and wanted to hear more, I would be like, oh my gosh, can you believe it? They heard what I was saying. So I think we miss those opportunities on a daily basis. I would be more in the DMs than I would be trying to figure out if I'm posting every day at the right hour and all that. I'm like, first of all, you don't even know if LinkedIn is putting your stuff in front of your audience. There's been so many people that tag me for stuff. that I don't even see it. It doesn't even come across on my feed. So now people that are in my network, I send them direct messages because that way I know that they've gotten it. If I tag them, I try to do that, but not everybody gets notified on that. So I think really taking the time to make it personal with people is where you have a lot of leverage, where you can really start making some great relationships that you can continue to build on.
So, I love that. So, be you, create those personal, memorable moments. That's where I wrote it there. That's like, what makes you you memorable people times? That
Mhm.
feeling. What's a free? It's also what I used to call it. Last year. You have to wear something. Makes people say, then they're almost forced to talk to you. But like, show up every day and do talk to people. Talk to people like people. And these are very important
Mhm.
points. I'll bear those in mind. I guess when it comes to your mission, Michelle, is fame for your business or for the mission?
Definitely for the mission. Um, because, I'm in the space of mental health, and depression is a topic that is very taboo still. We talk about it, we even, bring it up first, but a lot of people still don't feel comfortable around the topic. Um, and it's starting to incorporate and show up in so many spaces now. It's not just adults, it's not just women, it's men, it's not just uh adults, it's senior citizens, it's youth. I mean, it's showing up and crossing so many cultures, ages, genders, that it's something that I want to really shine the spotlight on. And I enjoy doing that in a way that doesn't feel sterile or uncomfortable. I try to have fun, laugh about it, talk about it in a way that really motivates people to want to entertain more conversations around it. So, um, definitely is for the mission. And I think all the other rewards come with that because I recognize that that's just going to happen. I had this one lady, um, I met her on LinkedIn and we had a conversation because she had a documentary that she was working on. And she told me about the documentary, great story. And so she said she was going to start a podcast. So I was like, oh, that's amazing. So I didn't hear anything from her for a while. And then she writes me and asks me if I'd be a guest on her podcast. And I was like, sure. Well, she's like, it's Pittsburgh. So she flew me out there, picked me up from the airport, took me out to dinner, put me in a hotel, picked me up the next morning, brought me to the studio to be recorded, and then took me to the airport. So I feel like that was because of the mission, right? I just got to be rewarded as a part of that process. So I think um, as long as we keep that focus, the doors will continue to open. There'll be plenty of things that we will continue to be able to do as long as we have that clarity around what's the priority and what is important in certain situations.
I love that. The clarity of what the mission is. That's so important. But I'll say thank you, thank you, thank you. Natalie wants to know about anything that's been. What's the funniest thing you've seen at events?
We used to do like I don't know how many shows a week with these events. I think, I can laugh about this situation now, but we had this gentleman, Zorar, I think that's his name. You know
Of course,
Zorar? Were you there that day? Okay, well, I don't know. I had a event with him, and he had a special place in my heart because I was doing this new series. And so it was like 5 a.m. in the morning every day. I did it for like 30 days. It was a challenge I did for myself. And so nobody would be coming in, but he would come in. And so I was like doing it on YouTube and LinkedIn or something like that. So I got to know him pretty well. Well, I was in another room that I was hosting, and he was saying some stuff or something, and it was really annoying to one of the other guests. I mean, they started really being rude to him, and I think it was where we had more than one moderator. They wanted to put him in the audience or something, and I just got really upset. So it's not really funny about it now, but I got upset and I said, "Look, one of the things that we have to be mindful of when we're on this stage is that, people are coming here because they feel like it's a safe space." And long story short, what I think was happening was he was calling in from overseas. So there was a delay where he would hear something and then he'd respond later. And so it just really rubbed this person the wrong way. And because I knew him, I just really got a little livid about it. And I was like, we don't know where people are calling from, what time of day it is, what they're experiencing. And so we have to be patient on these platforms and recognize that everybody is making this conversation even better by contributing. So it was a long thing because they were in the back channel telling me I should remove them and, all this other stuff. But I addressed it on the stage where everybody could hear. So, that's funny
It's,
now,
it's
but
funny. It's funny because I know Zara, and I know Zara has a way of speaking that some people just don't get. And some people they're too impatient. So I can imagine anyone who listens to Zara long enough will get the point he's trying to make. He'll make his point in the end. He might go around the house. He might say it in Zara way. You think, what are we talking about? And then you talk like, oh, okay, that's what you meant. That's the raw for you, right? Good on you. I think I've done the same for about but with him on stage. Something I think we want to pause event a long time ago, right?
mhm,
And someone just being rude. I'm like, why are you so what, just listen. He has a point. Wait
mhm,
long enough. Like you said, wait long enough. Listen, and he made his point. I don't know. Okay,
mhm.
people are funny. Naturally, my funny moments and I will happen a couple of days. What's today? Today, Monday it happened. Today's Wednesday. You know what, Lachelle? Tech problems meant we started late, number one. And then once we started, so this is Colette's show the other day. We're talking. We're talking about the topic. She's talking about introducing the topic and going into detail. And so I go on LinkedIn and click on the LinkedIn event, and nothing happened. I'm like, what? And I realized I didn't press go live on Restream. Well, not live. I was like, I just went live, and she's like, I just saw some numbers come. I'm like, yeah, we went live. We are now. It's like, when you're a host, things happen, right? Things happen.
Yeah,
And I think maybe it's a lesson in life. When things are going wrong, I think I was trying to think like a good news reader. So everyone thinks those news programs go swimmingly every time. They don't. Things go wrong on every show, every day, right? It's how the host
mhm,
handles it. Uh, so the good hosts just carry on as you never even notice. I said, no, it's really,
mhm.
when something goes wrong, they just carry on because they've done this script many times. Right? So they know what's there. Where some people just have a breakdown. Don't have a breakdown. You know, swim along. Go with the wave. So pull your,
It's true.
you know, just, crack on as you have to do. Brother Charlie, I appreciate you all your amazing comments. Exposing is inspiring. Exposing is inspiring. It really is. But Michelle, I've kept you way too long. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Look, this is good because I'm getting out of cooking right now by being on the show. It's like, oh, I gotta go cook. being domestic. Look, this is where the famous stuff ends.
Right,
Okay,
it's
just saying.
normal, it's cool, being a normal human being, a normal life, right? But that's all
Right.
of us, my friends. So there's less than that. Like I said, normal life still goes on. It must go. It must go on. There's nothing to do about
Mm-hmm.
that. Whether we're famous or not. And we still got to eat, sleep, and look after the kids, as you say, Michelle. I still go shopping.
Mm-hmm.
You and all the things that we have to do. But you know, all you can do is do them with grace. Do them with what you have. Right? That's all we
It's
can do.
true.
And carry on being great, Michelle. It's been as great as
Mm.
as I thought it would be to to be in your company for this long. But like I said, I will think hard about what we can do together. I think I would love to partner
Yes.
with you. I really would. But you know, I, I, I'm thinking I have to think big. But I don't know. Whatever comes up in my head, I'll come to you and say, right, Michelle, what do you think? It might start.
Yeah.
It might
Well,
start.
I think you don't have the stuff. You already have a gift, so think about how you can elevate what you're already doing. That's just the thing I say.
I have thoughts down those lines already. But thank you so much, my friends.
You're welcome.
Please share the links for for your books and for your Zonga TV show.
Okay.
Like, they really are nice. If you haven't seen Lachelle's show, then more for you, right? So Lachelle does many more things besides. So, connect and then engage with the content and the amazing work she does.
Oh, thank you so much, Annie, for having me. This has really been special. Like I said, we've been connected for a long time, so it's really great to collaborate on this show. And you're a great person to host because I feel like it. We were just having a conversation. It was a lot of fun.
That's what it does. That's what it does. There's no scripts, there's no preparation. There's just come and talk honestly about
Hmm.
reality. That's what excites me about life and these events that we do. Thank you for your time. I can't take away doing the dinner and all that. So I'm like, I have to go and do my dinner as well, right? I'm not as famous as you. That's fine.
Uh,
My friends, I'll say to you now, say look out for the link in the comments.
mhm.
How to engage with Michelle and Michelle's work. So William, Bill, I see your link to your books. The book of man was built. The three books in the series. The first one's out now, so do go and get it. I don't know whether it's free, but it's still free. Unless you go and look, you never know, right?
Mhm.
But Michelle, thank you so much. Do enjoy your night.
You're welcome.
Just keep
And
being
thank you guys all for watching. Everybody who showed up, appreciate you. Again, Annie was holding us down with the comments, so I appreciate that. But happy to connect with anybody. If anything I said resonated with you, just reach out to me.
everything you said resonates with you. That's good. I would encourage my friends. Maybe they're doing a TV thing with one of my friends. Is where I want
Mhm.
to get to. But we'll talk and let's see how we'll make that happen.
Okay.
So, thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy your night. I've got a show tomorrow about my book, Lessons to Learn from COVID. One, I don't know. That one. Yeah, this one. Anyway, I'm going to talk about that with Dr. Summer tomorrow. So do join us for that one. So thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy your night. I'm going to press end of our show. Take care. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
And he sees you. He sees you. He sees you. Oh, from the children with no voice in borrowed rooms to the